Morning, guys. Whitney from the Holiday Homestead. Hey, so we're just about to start our morning here. Chores are done and we're ready to start projects and all kinds of other stuff. And I just wanted to do a quick video about frost damage. Excuse me. So, frost damage. We have had a couple of kind of hard frosts in the past few days. And I just wanted to give you guys some information about what happens to frost damaged seedlings, but then also how you can save them. It is very possible to save them. Anyway, so let's head down to the garden here. I guess I'll just take you with me. Here we go. Hey, bud. Hey. Do. Let me put my basket down here. What's up?
So what is that? What is that? What is that, Mom?
Here we go. All right, so the garden looks a little bit, weedy right now. It looks pretty bad. This is a summer garden that we're in right now. And so, of course, because it's just about spring, we're just starting to bring these beds back from their hibernation. This is what we do to overwinter our beds. And it's a pretty thick layer of mulch on top of the soil. And that's what we are protecting underneath to grow in this summer. But I'll do another video about all that. But we've got a few things growing in here that we keep going year round. We've got the lettuce. This is butter crunch lettuce. And it looks kind of mangled right now because we just harvested a couple of dinners off of this. But don't let the appearance fool you. This stuff is incredibly hardy and bushes out to these beautiful heads of lettuce really quickly. So it'll come back in a couple of days and we'll have some more dinner. And then up there in the first blue pot is some parsley that I wasn't sure was going to come back this year, but it just did. And then, of course, peas. And those are actually self-seeded. They just decided to come up there on their own. We had a pea plant there, oh gosh, year before, I think, actually, last spring. And I guess they were waiting in the soil to come up when the time was just right. And sure enough, they did. So, and then we've got some comfrey in that little pot there. That's coming back after a long, hard winter. And my in-hill baskets there. And then, Dallin, it's fine. The cat's fine. And then some chamomile up there and some other herbs that'll be coming back in the spring. And of course, my grapes that I'm pretty sure are not doing great. But I don't know much about grapes, so it's a learning process. Anyway, so let's go have a look at some potatoes that got some pretty bad frost damage on them. So like I said, we've had a couple of hard frosts here in the past, I want to say the whole week pretty much has been really cold. And in our little gully, kind of where the land comes down, there's a creek down behind me here on that side. There's a little bit, hold on, there's a little bit of cold air that comes down through. Don't pull that, honey. That comes down through, even on warm days, we get a little breeze. So on cold days, where it's already cold anyway, it just gets even colder. And that's fine. You know, we've learned to kind of work with it. But so I had some volunteer potatoes that came up out of my compost. And I love volunteer plants. I do. If you want to grow here, I want you to grow here. So it's one less thing for me to have to figure out how to seed and all that. So when I saw them come up, I thought, yeah, okay, because it was pretty warm. We had like 75, 80 degree for a couple of weeks at least. So it was nice out. And I thought, okay, well, hey, if they want to grow, I'll let them. And so I did kind of transplant them a little bit because one of them started in kind of an awkward area. And so I moved them to to this little stock tank here. And then this one over here, I put my potatoes in as well. These little startups. And I thought, okay, we'll see how they do. And sure enough, when we got the really hard frost, they got wilted. They got badly hit. It was terrible. So, but the thing is, when you have frost damage on a plant, it is not the end of the world. It is very possible for that plant to continue growing. You just have to baby it a little bit. Now, it depends. I mean, if you've had a super hard frost where there was a bunch of snow or something, or you had some, just where that plant is just crisp when it's frozen and flops over flat, then more than likely that thing is dead, unfortunately. But if there is any green left on the plant, anywhere, that bright green color that says, I'm still alive, that is worth saving. So I'll show you what I mean. So like this one here. So this plant was flopped over. I mean, this. This is all that was left of like a cute little mound of potato plant. But look at those stems. It was still green. And so from that little bit of green, I could see, okay, there might be something here. So first thing you do with any frost damaged plant, do not touch it. Don't touch it. Don't water it. Don't, mourn for its loss. Don't do anything to it. Don't touch it, especially while it is still frozen. So like you come out early in the morning one morning and you see that your plants have been damaged by frost. Don't touch. Just let them warm in the sun. Just let the sun do its magic. Just kind of leave them alone for a minute. Later in the morning, come back and have a look and actually assess the damage. It may not be as bad as you think. So first thing, obviously all these top leaves just are dead. They're gone. I should just clip them away, but I haven't. But what wasn't damaged, and actually what these leaves kind of sheltered, was this guy. And this, and his little friend right there. Right there. And another little friend right here. Hold on. Those are all the plant needs to come back. There are a few others. Look at that one over there. That one's actually new. This guy right here, this here, and this here. That is going to regrow this plant. So I'm not going to take this plant out because it's not dead. It's not a loss. It definitely took some damage for sure, but it's not dead. So after you've not touched the plant, after the sun has warmed it up a bit, after you can really assess where there's life still left in it, go ahead, hold on. Go ahead and get a bunch of straw, light, fluffy straw. And you're just gonna pile it up kind of in a little area around this plant. Give it a little bit of protection. What you're doing is you're shielding those tiny little tender leaves from like wind and harsh things, but still allowing airflow through there. You're also, in the evenings or even just during the day, put a little very light covering of straw on top of it. That will keep the moisture from settling on those tender plants and hopefully, not guarantee, but hopefully protect it from another hard frost. If you get 2 hard frosts in a row and even these little tenderlings die, you've probably lost the plant. You probably have. But, 1, maybe 2 hard frosts, you might be able to save it. Anyway, but definitely cover it. So like over here, same thing. This guy, also very bad frost damaged. I mean, those leaves were just gone. But under there, the plant is still alive. That's going to grow. That is going to grow. All of that. And that's my new plant. So same thing, cover it up a little, the little dome kind of around it, and then just take a little bit on top, because you want there to be just enough to get sunlight through, but you don't want to, like, pound those little seedlings or those little leaves with a ton of sunlight. You just want to just baby them a little bit, just kind of be tender with them. And this one, look at this one. This one's definitely coming back. Right in there, see? That is a plant that is very much alive under here and still has hope, even though all of this growth, all this energy, all this effort is just gone. So what I would do if I had two hands right now, what I would do is clip off these little, like gently clip off these little dead ones and just leave those, because they're, they'll make good compost. But let these beautiful, healthy leaves come out. And again, I'm just gonna, just leave them a little bit covered, just a little shielded, and they'll push their way through it. And also you want to check on them regularly. See, here's another one over here. Just trying and doing, There he goes. A little damaged for sure, but he's coming back. Now, I'll tell you, a lot of times when you have a damaged plant like this, it's not going to be its best. It won't be. Especially if it's a plant that produces its fruit from the upper side. Tubers, potatoes, sweet potatoes, stuff like that, they'll probably come back pretty well. But things like tomatoes and squashes and stuff are going to have a hard time. Not saying that they won't come back completely, but they're going to have it's not going to be your number one plant. It won't be. I had a tomato, I call it my 2018 tomato because it was a miraculous little event. So we're living in Clovis, California. It gets pretty warm early there in the summer. It's about like zone 10, I want to say. So it gets fairly warm. Anyway, so this was probably like just at that edge between like April and May where it's warm but not super warm. Anyway, so I was like, okay, I'll just put my tomatoes out. No big deal. And I had a tomato that was probably maybe 10 inches in diameter. So a good size seedling to start for sure, because I started way early in my windowsill. Anyway, I put it out, and within 2 or 3 days, we had a hard frost. I mean, the grass was crispy, the air was heavy, it was cold, and totally unexpected. And so, I went out in the garden, I look, and this beautiful tomato that I had spent so much time growing was down to a shriveled little, ball of frozen sadness. And I thought, oh man, great, I lost that tomato plant. But the stem was still green. There was a little bit of life left in it. So I thought, okay. So I put the straw around it. I did this little thing. I babied it a little bit, clipped off all the dead stuff. And sure enough, that plant came back. Now, was it my number one tomato producer for that year? Absolutely not. It was like slightly below average. But it wasn't a wasted effort. So slightly below average was still a good investment of my time. I had the space. I had it in the side of one of the tomato rows. I just put another better producing tomato next to it and just kept going. And that little plant, even though it stayed kind of low to the ground, it never really got tall. It kind of just like leaned over to the side a little bit, but it produced, and I was able to harvest seeds from it. And they have been some of the best seeds I've had, So I didn't get a lot of fruit that year from it, but I did get seed from it. And from a seed cycling standpoint, that is still valuable, because now I'm still getting something from that plant that produces for the next year and the year after and beyond. So there is value, even if you just get a couple of tomatoes out of it. Also, if it's like a really valuable strain of tomato that you've been wanting to preserve, then go for it. Now, that being said, if you have a tomato that's been badly frost damaged and it's in a pot where you don't have extra space, and man, you could put a better producing tomato plant in that pot, I'd probably say, okay, take it out, because it's not going to be your number one producer. It's not going to be this amazing, tower of tomato loveliness. And if you're limited on space and that space is for your tomato production, if it's not going to produce well for you, get it out. Try again, or goodness, maybe even go and buy a seedling from a store. No, don't buy a seedling from a store. Oh my gosh, no. From a friend. Find somebody who has extra seedlings in their garden and get one from them. Anyway, but either way, you know, if you have the space, if you can fit it in, just leave it. Let it grow, because more than likely it's not completely dead, and there's something in there that you can still salvage. So anyway, yeah, and you know, we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping these potatoes do well. I mean, they're volunteers, so I figure it means they want to be here, and if you want to be here, I want you to be here. It's good enough for me. Anyway, so yeah, hope that helps, guys, and happy gardening.